Next up in the Heat Check series is Central Florida freshman Taylor Hendricks. A surprise potential one and done, Hendricks was the 46th ranked prospect in the 2022 high school class per RSCI. He's a lanky, 6'9" forward who's really made a name for himself as a sharpshooter and defender for the Knights. He's averaging 15.6 points, 6.8 rebounds, and 1.4 assists per game, while shooting 49% overall, 41% from beyond the arc, and 80% at the line. Here's how Heat Check works. I will identify one NBA draft prospect and grade what I believe to be their 5 most generally important skills regarding the NBA: scoring, defense, passing and playmaking, athleticism, and overall feel for the game. Since no two prospects are alike, I'll grade a few additional areas specific to that player deemed the swing skills. Each skill will be graded on the Heat Check chart, with ranges from cold all the way to scorching. When that's all said and done, I'll divvy out one final overall score that will have absolutely no bearing or real-world effect on said player whatsoever. Starting with athleticism, Hendricks is a good athlete. I wouldn't necessarily put him in any special category because of it, but I'd say he's above average for his size and position. He's got a nice mix between that springy style of leaping and pure power, and he can alternate between the two styles depending on what he's trying to do. Most importantly, he's got a ton of fluidity and mobility for 6'9", and he's got some quickness to his game too. He's pretty good at leveraging his athleticism on both offense and defense, attributing to his two-way upside. I'm basically right in the middle between warm and hot with the grade here. It could go either way. Hendricks has been a huge surprise scoring the ball this season, averaging 15 points on essentially 50-40-80 splits. Let's go ahead and jump right into what is likely his most coveted offensive skill, his shooting. He's hitting on 41% of his 4.5 three-pointers per game and is one of the better shooting forwards in the entire draft class. He's got a smooth, high release, and at 6'9", he does a great job of seeing over defenders. There's not a massive amount of shot variance. 51 of his 57 made threes are catch and shoot, but at his size and for his role, there doesn't need to be. Everything I've seen is totally projectable. He's not going to be some movement shooter or anything like that, but he'll be a fine floor spacer in the NBA who can potentially expand here and there. He's got quite a bit more savviness to his game inside the arc, and more specifically down low. He crashes the boards well, leading to putbacks. He's a smart and timely cutter. He runs and finishes well in transition. He's got a decent little post game that can be improved on, especially if he fills out any more, and he can play quite a bit bigger than he is. And some of that same touch that he's got beyond the arc can absolutely translate to face-up baskets within the arc too. So he's great at lots of things offensively. He's got really good scoring instincts all over the court. The primary issue with his scoring, and the reason I'm giving him a warm grade, is how dependent it can be on others. Again, that's just fine for his current role and the role he'll have in the NBA, but to be in the upper echelon of scorers, you've got to be able to create for yourself, or at least prove you can here and there. We'll get more into that later. Defensively, I'm feeling a grade of hot on Taylor Hendricks. This is where you can really start to see the upside that has people projecting him lottery and higher. He can straight up get after it on defense. Starting with his counting stats and defensive playmaking, he's averaging 1.7 blocks per game on the year and just shy of 1 steal, and his length and instincts are a huge reason for that. One of his best traits as a defender is his shot blocking. I think it's pretty special. He's got innate timing, his athleticism helps him adjust on the fly, and he's pretty good at tracking the ball. He's at his best as a weak side or secondary rim protector, which is going to create some nightmare scenarios for teams who already have a decent rim protector. He's also flashed some pretty impressive stuff as a point of attack defender too. Another one of his key defensive traits will be his switchability. He's got impeccable footwork for 6'9". I could talk about it all day. And his fluidity transfers right over to defense. He fans out, disrupts lanes here and there, and is about as mobile as they come for a rim protecting 4. Again, the footwork. I knew Hendricks was good defensively coming into this breakdown, but I left really, really impressed. I'm feeling cool on his passing and playmaking. Again, he's more on the finishing end of actions, so he's not necessarily going to be put in the position to pass or playmake a ton. He's got a 1-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, and a majority of his assists come on sets. It's really just a lot of handoffs and regular passes mixed in there. That being said, there's been some flash here and there, It seems for the most part he's pretty good about keeping the ball in people's wheelhouse, which I like. I just don't think he's great improvisationally as a passer, but within a system and within actions, there are no worries on my end whatsoever. I'm feeling warm on Hendricks' unquantifiable feel for the game. It can't be categorized in the same way that, say, Anthony Black or even fellow 6'9" forward Brandon Miller's feel can be, but he's intelligent and instinctual within his role, and that earns some points in my book. Offensively, he's good at running through the Rolodex of moves in order to get his shots off, and he takes good shots generally. Just 15% of his shots were graded low quality per synergy. Defensively, he's got great feel for when to help, when to double, when to rotate, and tons of built-in, unteachable things on that end of the court. Overall, I just kind of feel like Hendricks gets it. For Hendricks' swing skill, let's jump back into his creation and ball handling. It's likely the biggest thing limiting him from going top 10 or even higher than that. His handle is pretty loose, which limits him a ton, and he's just not adept at attacking anything off the dribble. That's not to say he won't be able to take defenders off the dribble at all. He's already shown a good bit of that in college, and I think as far as simple stuff goes, he's going to be just fine. It's not like he's immobile with the ball in hands, but he's far, far removed from primary, secondary, or even tertiary ball handling duties. As far as shot creation, he's got some stuff here and there. He's tall enough to get shots off, he can eventually incorporate jabs and smaller low dribble stuff, but again, I think he's a ways off from those advanced, space-creating moves with no real development in those areas in sight. And if they came around, would he even have the playmaking chops to match? There's just too many question marks here for me to daydream about what could be. And this is the primary separator between stars and role players at almost every level of basketball. There's always a chance it could see drastic improvement in the next 3 years and we're looking at a totally different player, but I'm not going to bet on it. The grade. I've given Taylor Hendricks a grade of 7.9, which would have him just shy of a guy like Grady Dick, who I have firmly in the 2023 lottery. There's a ton to like about Taylor Hendricks' two-way upside. He's basically the template for a modern 4 in the NBA. A lengthy, spot-up floor spacer who is physical inside, attacks the glass, and can even mix it up some within the arc. And defensively, he's a switchy, roving, shot-blocking 4 who is instinctual and gives great effort constantly. All of those things are going to be massive for playoff basketball down the road. With that being said, he's kind of a niche selection, and I don't think those things necessarily add up to being a star caliber player. Anybody looking for a straight up swing pick in the back of the lottery will probably shy away from Taylor Hendricks. I think he's absolutely a lottery talent, but it wouldn't necessarily surprise me if he found himself just outside the lottery either. It also wouldn't surprise me if a team in dire need of perimeter shooting and a weak side defender grabbed him at number 8. At the end of the day, he's a really good basketball player who's going to contribute to winning basketball for whoever drafts him. That's it for this one. Let me know what you think of Taylor Hendricks, a guy I came away super impressed by, and drop who you want to see in the next heat check.